Peace and good morning. Staring down the tunnel of greatness. Alright, so imagine that you're standing at the beginning of a tunnel and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but the tunnel itself is dark, typical of a freaking tunnel, right? You know that you have a goal. If you take a step and you walk through the tunnel, you're walking into darkness. And you can keep walking until you can get to the light, and you don't really know what's on the other side of the light. You have a hope, and you have a dream, you have faith of what's on the other side, but you're not sure what's there. But you do know that it's going to take a lot of hard work to get through the tunnel. It's going to be dark. It's going to be dreary. You're going to step into puddles. You may trip. There may be dangers lurking in the darkness that you don't see. And yet, you have to go through the tunnel in order to be at your best, to feel at your best, to accomplish your best. It's going to take sacrifices because there's going to be friends, family, and loved ones who aren't going to come through the tunnel with you. When you get through the tunnel, you're going to meet people in the tunnel that not really going to be able to see you for who you are because both of you are on your journey. So it's going to be a struggle for them to understand when they quit inside the tunnel how you're going to continue to walk through the tunnel. This is like life. Well, this is life. I was just listening to Kobe Bryant talking about what motivated him, the desire to overcome adversity, to compete, to even when his back was hurting, to playing against some of the best players in the world and having to face up to shortcomings and losses. And this reminds me of everything I've read from every great person ever. Every great leader, every great player, every great musician, every great anybody who has ever lived has the same story. It was a struggle to wake up and practice when they didn't want to, when they were tired, when they were lonely. It was a struggle to get their families and friends on board to understand that they had a dream and that they were going to fight for it. This happened to Martin Luther King. His own father didn't understand what his life was all about and why he took a slightly different path and why he became the pastor of the church he became pastor of, rather than the church that he grew up in his entire life. This happened with Malcolm X. Like the friends that he made before he went to jail, they did not understand the man that he was becoming, and it happened again to him when he left the Nation of Islam and when he went on Hajj, and when he came back, people weren't really understanding his perspective. They didn't really appreciate his realignment. This happened with every great hero, every great leader who's ever lived, both fiction and real. This is part of the hero's journey. And every single one of us has our own journey. Just like I always say, every single one of us has our own talents, gifts, and offerings to give to the world. And every single one of us has a certain belief system, a certain God that we worship. Now, there's only one God, and ultimately all things go back to that. But when you align your actions so that you can be of service to humanity, so that you can serve that which you believe in 100%, when you die, you won't have any regrets. You won't have to look back on your career. You won't have to look back on your life and say, oh, well, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. And if you have regrets today, these are opportunities for you to learn lessons and say, well, I would not have done this thing that I did, but I want to now learn my lesson. So what contributed to me doing this thing? What was the impact, and what will I do next time I'm faced with a difficult situation? So that's what we all have to do in our lives if we want to walk in that tunnel of greatness, walk through that tunnel to our destination of greatness, to our goal. Because as it is said, the success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So my question for you, friends, is what's your worthy ideal? And have you charted a path? Have you figured out a way to get there? Short example is, I'm on my way to work right now. This job is a job that I foresaw myself and desired before I even really realized it. And I'm on my way into the office right now. And so my office destination that I'm driving to, my worthy ideal, is the office. The road that I'm taking is the path that I need to take. I've taken this path multiple times. So it's like waking up every day and saying, this is how I'm going to get myself from point A to point B. Here is my journey. And if you do this every day, if you show up to work every single day and you take that path to work every single day, that consistency, that persistency, that tenacity will breed success for you, God willing. And if you don't get the success that you expect to get, you'll get more, or you'll be uncovering skills inside of you or learning lessons inside of you that are going to help you achieve your dreams in the future. My final thought is, don't quit, don't give up. Today I found out that I've lost a friend of mine, a buddy of mine, who I served with. And I don't know the circumstances of his death, I don't know anything. But this is what I can say about most of us, is that when times get hard, when times get tough, we can't see how we're ever going to get through that tunnel, how we're ever going to make it to that place that we believe we will achieve all of the things that we want. But just as a reminder, it's not the outcome, it's not the destination that's really important for you in your life. It's the journey. Now that's cliche as all get out, but here's what that means. When you finally reach your destination, what's going to ultimately happen? Think of the ending of stories. What happens when you end a story? It's a great book. You want to read the author's next book. What happens at the end of a life when life is extinguished? You want to remember the life that the person had. You want to go back and revisit it and think back through the memories. Then you stop paying attention to the deceased and you start paying attention to the living. What happens at the end of a journey or at the end of a goal? You reach your goal, you celebrate, but then if you have ambition or you're a talented person, you immediately go out to set yourself down a new path, chart a new path. It is not the ending of the journey that is the most profound and what makes you feel great. It's walking that journey and then looking back and reflecting on all the memories that you made on that journey. It's looking back and saying, wow, I really gave it my all. Wow, I really suffered. I didn't eat. Wow, I really took care of my child. When I wasn't eating, I made sure that they ate. Wow, I took care of my mom when she was sick. Or wow, I took care of my grandmother when she was sick. And now I got to spend that time with them that I wish I did. You don't have to die with regret. You can look back on a story and you can rewrite the story in your memory and relive it over and over and over again because it was your journey. Now, there was a movie that I saw a few years back, maybe 10, 15 years ago, where a guy was living his life and he fast forwarded to the important part. And he just drifted through that entire life, and he didn't have any fond memories. People had to remind him of the memories because he didn't have those memories of the journey. He just got to the point where he was a millionaire and he thought that's where the enjoyment was, and that's not where the enjoyment was. There's a book called it's not Think and Grow Rich. No. It's Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, and it talks about how people live their lives and they just drift through life. And how this is an illness, this is a sickness. When you're really motivated by something and you're going after something, you want to live in the present while also working towards the future. If you try to ignore the present and just suffer through it, you'll begin to drift and you'll reach your journey and you won't have any happiness or success. That's why there's so many of us who are drifting through life right now, unhappy, miserable, and without success. It's because we are not being conscious of the life that we're living. We're not treating our minds, our hearts, our bodies, and our souls with the attention it deserves. We're not reflecting on the lessons we're learning in our days. We're not admiring and appreciating our own journey and people within our lives that are part of that journey. We're drifting. We're drinking ourselves to death. We're smoking ourselves to death. And it's like we're in a rush to die. And it's not necessary to be in a rush to die. It's not necessary to rush to the end of the story. You have to remember that right now you're living, and right now there's things to enjoy. And I remind myself of this as I'm about to leave Abu Dhabi and come home for a 2-week vacation. And I get to spend time with my son, and I get to wake up in the morning and see him. And I get to talk to him and hold his hand while we go for walks in the morning, even though it's going to be cold and I can't stand it. But I want to create memories for him and share some things about me and about him into my mind and about me into his mind. So this is a reminder for all of us to live in the present and to acknowledge the beautiful things that are happening around you. Even if you're going through troubling and terrible times, even if somebody has lied to you or cheated you, even if somebody has caused you to distrust them, this is not into your story. This is just the beginning, and it's just a part of that journey. And it's going to hurt, and I've been there too. But you can get through it because you're strong, you're capable, you're powerful. You have something to offer us, everybody in the world, and we have something to teach you. And may all the peace and blessings of this world be upon you, and may you reflect upon the beauty of this life and May you receive the rewards of walking through the tunnel, the tragic tunnel, the dramatic tunnel, the tunnel of darkness, so that you can so that you can achieve ultimate peace and learn lessons of belief. All praise be to God. You guys have a great day. Peace and blessings.